Hello, I'm Laura from Burns Pet Nutrition.
Hello, I'm John Burns from Burns Pet Nutrition.
And today we're going to be discussing food sensitivities in pets.
Sensitivity is when the pet overreacts to something in its diet. That can take several forms or several causes, actually. There's food allergy, food intolerance, and then a third, which I believe is a major problem, that's food toxicity.
Yeah, and a lot of the time I think people's first thoughts, if they have a pet with itchy skin or digestive problems, they think it's an allergy straight away, don't they? And they forget that there's plenty of other causes.
Yes, indeed. And I think true allergy to food isn't that common. I think it's hard to diagnose it, in fact. It rarely does get diagnosed definitively.
Yeah.
Whereas food intolerance, which is rather than an allergic reaction, is an inflammatory reaction. It's probably much more common, I would say. The predominant symptoms occur in the skin and the digestive system, but any chronic or recurring health problem should raise the question, is this a food reaction?
Yeah. And sometimes you'll see it straight away when they change onto a new diet, or sometimes it can develop over time, can't it? Sometimes they're on that diet for quite a long time and then gradually they build up a reaction to it. Sometimes people will ask, oh, has the recipe changed because their dog suddenly started reacting, but their dog might have built up a reaction to that food over time.
True food allergy, when it occurs, doesn't happen overnight. It usually takes months or years even of eating that same food before the dog actually becomes allergic to it.
Yeah, so especially you get these like young puppies and they might be getting a lot of digestive problems. It's probably quite unlikely to be an allergy, isn't it? It might be the bacteria in their guts not doing very well, they've had a bit of a bug. Straight away people are thinking it's an allergy.
Yeah, well I think again it could be an intolerance.
Yeah.
Could simply be a matter of overfeeding, but that's a slightly different part to that consideration, I think.
Yeah.
I think the starting point isn't, does my dog have a food sensitivity? It should be, has my pet got a health issue, and one which has no apparent cause, something which keeps recurring or is persistent.
Yeah.
That's what should give rise to the thought, is there a food sensitivity here?
Yeah, so there's something not quite right with the pet.
Aye, that's right. Something not right, and it persists.
What should they do? Should they change onto a different food, try some different ingredients? Or?
I wish it was as simple as that, but in practice that's probably the starting point.
Yeah.
You have to look at the ingredients that you're feeding and think, well, maybe we should try something different here. But it has to be done fairly methodical. It's not just change the food and it works or it doesn't work. I think it's a sort of thing that needs professional assistance, really.
Yeah, and people quite often will forget the treats as well. So they'll be feeding a special expensive veterinary diet and then their dog's having dental chews and all sorts of scraps and things.
The whole diet has to come into the consideration now.
Yeah, so we'd want to look at what they've eaten in the past and see if there's anything in common that they might be reacting to. It's not an instant fix, is it? It can take a bit of time to see improvements.
Many pet foods don't actually list ingredients by name.
Yeah.
They say cereals, cereal derivatives, animal derivatives, meat and animal derivatives, permitted additives and so on. Things which are just too vague for you to know what you're actually feeding your pet.
No, and that's one of the good things with our recipes, with them being so simple. And we try and stick to one protein source as well, don't we? So if a dog is having a problem, we'll just move away from chicken and try fish because we know they're on chicken and we can just move away from that and try something else. Whereas sometimes if it's meat and animal derivatives, you don't really know what they're eating, do you?
Not only that, but the recipe can be changed by the manufacturer according to what ingredients are cheaper at the time.
Yeah.
And the food may look the same, smell the same, but it could be different. People are overfeeding, and I think that can upset the equilibrium and cause adverse reactions in the system.
Yeah.
I think that's an important element to it, if not the important element.
It's something we see in humans as well, isn't it? Like food allergies and food intolerances are becoming more common.
I remember seeing a report by the Allergy UK charity.
Right.
They guessed or reckoned that something like 30 million people in the UK had some kind of food allergy or intolerance.
Right.
And that's almost half the population.
Yeah.
So thinking back to when I started in health and nutrition, that was kind of a bit maverick subject. Now it's much more mainstream and people are thinking more about how diet affects health.
Yeah.
Not just with pets, but with in the human field as well.
We get a lot of people contacting the helpline and they've spent a lot of money on an allergy test for their dog, and they quite often come back with a long list of allergies, often things the dog's never eaten before, and I've seen things like parakeets, cockroaches. I think we had artificial duck on one allergy test as well, and the owner's quite panicked and they don't know what to feed their dog after this allergy test. So what's your opinion on these tests?
Well, it's not just my opinion, it seems to be received wisdom that these tests are ineffective, inaccurate and misleading, in fact.
Yeah.
It's something that develops over time. So the idea that a dog could be allergic to a food it's never experienced before, it just isn't right. A feeding test is the only way forward there, really.
Yeah, to actually try the food.
I've attended a veterinary conference in the United States where academics said this is one of the biggest hoaxes ever on the American pet-owning public.
Right, grain-free.
The idea that dogs and pets can't digest grains.
Yeah.
It's not correct. Are they allergic to grains? That's not correct either. Although I may make an exception there for wheat. I think that's a food wheat I don't really recommend.
Yeah, it is one of the more common ones, isn't it?
That's likely to be, that could be a problem. But other grains are not likely to cause adverse reactions. And we hear vets even recommending this, but it's a myth, it's incorrect.
And what about the amount of the ingredients? Is that important? So if a dog has a high level of a certain ingredient, are they more likely to react to it?
A true allergy, even a tiny amount can trigger a reaction. We see this in humans, especially with something like a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
It's a very dramatic example of that. But with a food intolerance, that's usually dose related. In other words, a small amount of the food ingredient may not cause a reaction, whereas a larger amount will.
Yeah, so that's where the feeding amounts and overfeeding really comes into play.
Yes, indeed. And again, a pet subject of mine is the idea of toxicity. Overloading the system with nutrients interferes with the normal functioning and can trigger adverse reactions in the system. So whatever the food is, should be fed moderately. Overfeeding causes problems of all kinds.
Definitely.
Not just overweight, but
a
whole raft of different health issues can be caused by overfeeding even a good quality food.
Thank you for listening. This is one of a series of videos, so if your pet is having problems with itchy skin or digestive problems, anal gland problems, look out for the other videos in the series.
Thank you.